Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on my first Build with Mel show. I am joined by Sarah here, and we're going to be talking about her business. Sarah and me are actually part of the same accelerator program. So how cool is that? So we're both on Fem powered together, and we both are trying to drive, female-led businesses forward. So Sarah, so I want to know a lot about you before we get into the whole digital marketing and how we can work together to scale your business today. But just tell me a little bit about TeachTed and what about the backstory of how TeachTed started and how that relates to you. So yeah, I know that's a big question, but I'd love to just hear the journey.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited. I've been enjoying the FemPowered sessions so far, and it's great to have this opportunity to get some help from you. So my background's actually corporate financial services and a lot of work in marketing. But when I do marketing, it's usually content driven and explaining quite complex ideas in more simple formats and dealing with millions of dollars in investment money. Which is very different to what we're doing with TeachTed, which is a direct to consumer and trying to help families as much as we can. So TED started many years ago when my co-founder Sarah and I we met at Mothers Group, and our children both had various hospital experiences. Her daughter had open heart surgery when she was quite young, and my kids had adenoids, grommets, the usual things you have with kids. And we couldn't find anything that would actually help us support our kids through it. And we had quite varying degrees of anxiety from our children when they were going through it. I was doing a lot of work with playgroup at the time, teaching parents about how to play with their children and how they can learn through play. And there just weren't really any information out there that could help me as a parent understand what was going to happen when I took a child to hospital. And Sarah's an incredibly talented artist, and she decided that she wanted to illustrate a children's book and asked me if I could write one that she could illustrate that we could join together for that. And we thought it'd be great to do something about going to hospital. Hence, Ted was born. So this is Ted.
Oh,
hi.
Hi, Ted.
And Ted is super cuddly. And what we're doing with TED is using some really well-known techniques that are used in all the children's hospitals and in a lot of therapy with children about learning through play and also learning through toys. So one of the biggest things that causes anxiety in children is not knowing what's going to happen. And also they have such limited context about the world that they often jump to some very strange conclusions. So what we look to do through TED is to explain to the parents the sorts of things that children might get concerned about, why, and the different things they can do about it. And with kids, we let them actually take TED through the experience. And when they do that, that gives them the confidence really to do it themselves, but also a really safe space to ask any questions or express any thoughts that they might have in a way that their parents can engage with them. And basically help them through that journey.
So my question is, is it a book, TeachTed, that you illustrated? And were you guys an author before this, or did you self-author at the end? I want to know that.
We have a great theory of let's just give it a go and see what happens. So Sarah had put together a little picture book for her daughter when she went through the open heart surgery so that her kids could understand. And I've always done a lot of writing in various roles that I've been in, but neither of us had ever written or published anything. So we spent quite a lot of time working through the storyline. We also were fortunate enough to be able to work with some of the child life therapists from the Children's Hospital at Westmead, who were able to give us a lot of insights into the sort of language that can help, the sort of language that doesn't really help, and also some of the things that kids find quite concerning. We also spent a lot of time working with different medical practitioners and families who've been through this to get their thoughts. So TeachTed produced a book called Ted Goes to Hospital. Cool. And it's full of Ted's journey through. I always find this hard to do on a screen.
Cool.
So you can see there's various
Yeah.
characters in there that TED meets along the way. And TeachTed as an overarching umbrella, we have a longer term plan to produce a lot of digital tools that can be used for all different medical experiences. So at the moment, we've got a clinical trial running with UNSW and the Sydney Children's Hospital at Randwick that is testing a digital tool for children who need to get blood tests, and how by using the tool and also the information that we provide to parents and the different activities they can do, that we can significantly reduce the trauma that can be associated with kids getting blood tests. So it makes it a lot more efficient for the hospital system as well. But most importantly, kids don't end up with a lifetime phobia about needles, which can often happen. So that's the longer term plan. That is unfortunately on hold at the moment because of COVID, but we hope to get going again soon. So in the meantime, we're really focused on getting the support tools out there around going to hospital. Excuse me.
Amazing. I'll tell you why your story resonates with me. So I have a huge fear of needles. I don't know what happened to me as a child, to be honest with you, but recently I went to hospital just to watch. Actually, my husband was in hospital and I was just watching and observing him. And when they were taking his blood, I fainted.
Oh no.
So I have that kind of fear. And I think it must have developed. And when I try and look back as a child, where's that fear from? I just remember a doctor potentially injecting me or just like stabbing and having that image and that thought in me. So, I mean, the fact that, and that now that fear has stayed with me for life. So I totally, can resonate with what you're saying, is that you're trying to make it a story like process to actually ease mentally, because it is something that can stay with you for life, and it can make, that can create huge amounts of issues for those children that might need additional help also in the future. Like if I need something, that's something that now I have to battle with constantly, because it's ingrained in my mind that needle means X.
Yes. Yeah, and look, it was pretty common for kids to be held down, to be given injections. It still happens occasionally, and it's not done in a nasty way. The thought behind it is, look, let's just get it over with. But, there are so many really simple things that parents can do beforehand, and also the medical practitioners can do. And there is a lot of focus now on patient experience, which is great. We're particularly trying to support those families that aren't necessarily going to places with paediatric specialist staff. So people in regional areas and remote. The good news is you can turn that sort of thing around. So you should watch our TED tool. We've had quite a lot of success. Well? Yeah, absolutely. We have so many parents that they feel more comfortable by reading the books and watching the videos too. So we've had kids that had years and years of what's called white coat syndrome, where they're very scared about going into hospitals, and just not long after, putting the book into their daily bedtime reading, completely turned around to the point that their hospital staff were like, I do not know what you did with these children, but it's fantastic. So that was really exciting for us, because we weren't sure how much it could help those kids with more ingrained or existing anxieties.
Okay, amazing. I will share something with you very private, because I think your journey is like amazing. And for me, I like to connect in with people I'm working with, so I can really feel the pain. And so I had a brother once upon a time, and he went through open heart surgery at sort of 6 months. And it's the first, when I was about 4 years old, and it's the only memory I have as a child, going back to that. And my mom went through a number of mental issues leading up to that and post that, because he unfortunately didn't make it through the surgery, because he was so young in it. And it's such a personal journey, and it's such a hard journey when you have your children go through that process of fear and everything it creates. And I think that's what you are really trying to speak to, is to help these stakeholders within any kind of issues that might be as hard as what we've discussed to, as having fear for needles. We've talked on a really deep level of, big range there. And so it's kind of, you're right, there is nothing there. You think you have to talk to someone and pay for that time to get therapy, but what happens in between when you're not in therapy? What are you actually consuming when you're going through this really quite difficult journey. And I think that's something that's what you really resonate with, and you want to impact on the lives of children, and I believe it's also the parents as well.
Yeah.
That's consumer. And this digital tool that you've got, is this still a working progress, like an MVP? Is that something that what I want to talk about is, obviously you've got the book that you can market, but you've got this MVP product. Would you want more partners over on that product to get it into the hands?
Yeah, we're looking to. So the process that we are working through is to get the clinical trial data. Obviously, reducing children's anxiety is a wonderful thing, and it's what drives us. We're for purpose, for profit, so we try and give as much back as we can through that, and that's what drives us to do this. But at the end of the day, we're also not millionaires, so we need these products funded. So what we are looking at proving through the clinical trial is that not only does the tool reduce anxiety in the parent and the child, but it also increases operational efficiencies, and it makes it they need less staff to provide the service. So, for example, commonly to give a child a blood test, they need two quite senior staff, one to hold them down, not in a pinned to the bed, but to hold them so that they don't move, and the other one to actually do the blood test. Whereas we know when you have a child that's quite calm, you can have one person do it. So you've immediately, halved your cost of service. But I guess the biggest driver for us is you also get consistency of outcome. So you can't pick which child is going to lose it. There are obviously some who are prone to be more anxious, but my son is actually more the anxious one than my daughter, but they both went into operations on the same day and he was fine and she just lost it. And that meant extra time for the staff to calm her down before they could actually sedate her. And that throws their waiting lists out. So you either end up with a situation where you put in extra space through, for example, if you've got 10 kids getting blood tests, you put in extra space to allow for it, and then you've got dead time. Or you don't, and kids are sitting there waiting in the waiting room for their turn, and the longer they wait there, the more stress they get. So there are a whole range of flow-on benefits to the health system if we can get this out there, and it's not particularly expensive to deliver because it's all digital. But once we get those results, we will be looking for corporate partners who want to bring this on board for their patients, or for corporates who are looking to do some good to give back into the community, who want to fund these sorts of things. We also have a program where corporates can donate copies of the book to some of our partners. So we work with Royal Flying Doctors and Ronald McDonald House and Starlight to provide free copies of the book into them. Okay. So just on your brother, I'm really sorry to hear that, and thank you for sharing. Ted really does have a very close connection with the open heart surgery. You can see here he's actually a zipper kid and he has a heart. So we were really excited because recently a little girl who was on her 4th heart surgery adopted one of our Ted bears. You can adopt our bears. And she took him into surgery. It was the first time she'd had surgery where she was really old enough to understand. And her mum said that Ted got dragged everywhere, and she was just, so calm about the whole thing. So, that's what drives us, is hearing stories like that.
Wow. Thank you. And I felt it was appropriate too. And so I want to help you to basically get you to a revenue position. So whether that means through books or in a much more bigger scale, where people actually maybe resonate with your story, so they want to make the donations. And I want to talk about the strategy in how you're currently doing that, and how I want to give you some strategies on how I would, work this business to really resonate. And I really want to highlight why I go so deep with, my stories and with my clients, and why, because I try so hard to get into the shoes of the person that is going through the pain point. So I have to go into my life and try to get down to being into one of the people that are going to be the users, and also the paying user as well. So I haven't yet got into the paying users mindset yet, because we haven't talked about that. But it's really important, I guess. The reason I'm doing this is to share that this is what a real true digital marketing partner looks like, is they actually get really deep and they really feel it, because then you can really understand the target market, and then we can start thinking how we're going to actually pitch to them. So I share it with you as a personal, but I share it with you because you have to go like that if you're going to be able to help your actual businesses actually succeed. So you have to look very deep inside of yourself and your character and see how you can place these products within your life as well. So going into revenue and digital marketing and branding and this kind of space. So right now, I know when we caught up yesterday, we were talking about maybe it's selling these books because that's the only way right now. But I really think there's a bigger play than just selling these books. I really do. I think it goes back to where you started. I think there's corporate partnership opportunities here that would just because I know you're trying to sell these books into, like, your strategy was selling these books into childcare centres and promoting that. And I'm not sure if that's going to give you enough of the big impact you want to make right now. And you need someone that's going to come in and buy, thousands of these books in one bulk to probably have the impact that you
awesome.
So I mean, because the impact that you want to make is so big, and this digital product that you're working on is so exciting. Are you showing this digital tool and product and glimpses of what you're trying to do within any of your marketing or any passing conversations, or within any digital, if you kind of, try to market that product and try to go down that path?
Yeah, so we've got some snippets of it that we share when we're putting forward proposals. So, for example, we're approaching people like New South Wales Health at the moment to see if there's ways that we can help families who are needing COVID swabs and things like that. And we've got snippets of the tool that we can show them to explain the approach that we take. And we shared some of that last year. We did a crowdfund to raise money for the research project, which we raised, I think, just shy of $8,000, which was amazing. And through that, we were able to give about 60 books through to our donation partners as well. That it was a reward crowdfund. I haven't really been showing it too much on socials yet because of the fact that I don't know how long it will take to come through because of what's happening with COVID. We thought that they would start to relax it, and then, of course, it all spiked up again. So it's all sort of gone back into pause. But so, yeah, the answer is no, short answer.
Okay. I really think, like, whether the tool takes long or it doesn't take long or whatever, right now, what you need is revenue flowing in so that you can continue to have an impact. And my concern is, I'm not sure if, $20 per book is going to be able to have that impact. Doesn't matter how many childcare centres end up buying that, and I think we need to think on a much more bigger scale. And I'm trying to now think on a much more storytelling of how the successes you have had with children. Like, you just shared a beautiful story with me before about how young she was, right? It was the first time she knew that she was going to be going into surgery and she could have an impact. So this really, and how you were able to give TED to her that she could borrow for that surgery.
Oh no, she adopts him. So we all our bears are adoptable. Yeah, they're all handmade. So she's her bear now.
It's her bear now.
Yeah.
And how that calmed her down and how soothing that was for her. But the mission about TED is so much bigger, because you have this digital tool that you want to implement. And is this a physical digital tool that we are talking about, or is it something that online that the parents will do with their children? Tell me more about this tool.
Yeah, so it's a combination. The best way to support children is to take a range of different approaches all at once. So core to all of our products is always the support material we provide for the parents. This takes them through what will actually happen, so they then have the language to explain that and answer questions their child might have. We talk about different elements that might scare their children and why. So, for example, a lot of parents at the moment would be seeing their children scared of people wearing masks. And there's two reasons for that. One is really logical, and the other one is logical once you have had it explained to you, but isn't before that. The first one is that you've covered their face. So a child can't visually see, and they find it very hard to read emotions when you can't see someone's mouth. So that can be quite challenging for the child. The other one that surprises people, though, is children don't have lots of context, and they watch a lot of movies and the bad guys wear masks. So in their head, they've made a leap that says anyone who's wearing a mask is a bad guy. Now, not all children will do this, but for some children it can be quite overwhelming, and particularly with younger children or those who have limited language skills, they find it very hard to articulate concepts like that. So they won't necessarily tell you that it's the mask that's scaring them. They'll start saying, you know, my jumper's hurting, or my arm's sore, or that man over there is, you know, looks funny. Or they'll come out with all sorts of weird things. They regress in behaviours sometimes. They might start wetting the bed if they hadn't before. Their language might drop back. So by providing the parents with this sort of information, and we provide conversation starters, we give them the tools to see if that is actually the point. The digital tool itself is, there's two parts to it. The first is will be a video that takes them through Ted and his trusty sidekick Lammy getting a blood test, and what the sorts of things are that he is thinking about as he's going through, who he meets along the way, all the big words, like the phlebotomist who actually does the test. And we explain all of that, and we also explain that at the end, you know, it did hurt a little bit for Ted, but it might not hurt for everyone. But at the end of the day, it was done, and you know, he's now able to go on with his life, and he's got a lovely certificate. And then the second part of that is the activities that we provide. So, for example, there are things like we have little activities like this one called Relax and Distract, and it's a way that you can make your own relaxation toy. We have activities around how you can use TED and things like a straw and a ribbon to show for the child to practice on TED, giving him a blood test. These are all things that will let the child articulate any concerns that they have in a way that the parent feels comfortable and confident understanding.
Are you giving away these activities for free on your website?
We sure do. Yeah, so all of those activities are free on our website. We've also got some fun COVID ones for anyone who wants it. And the other thing that we've done is the way that we've designed all of our tools is, as you can see from Ted, Ted doesn't have any particular cultural background, neither do any of our characters. And it's quite easy for us to provide overlays in different languages and adapt the language so that it suits different cultural needs as well. So one of the things we're really keen to do is see how we might be able to support some of those communities that the current health messaging is not necessarily reaching as well.
Awesome. I just said I love Ted.
Oh, Ted loves you back.
Okay, I think that so I've just checked out your website and it's beautifully presented. You're giving away these free activities that are so amazing. I don't think anyone knows what's going on about all the stuff that you are doing. My mind is like blowing at all the stuff that you could you could be doing. So I want to approach it in two ways. One is obviously we can do those Facebook ads that, as you know, that we discussed that is a great stream of trying to just get some people in to your shop and purchase some of those items. And yes, I think that would be the ideal thing. We can target the parents specifically. And is there any email database list that you hold right now?
We've got a sort of small list from our crowdfund and some other activities that we've done, but it's not particularly extensive.
So the crowdfund list that you have, that's really good. I would keep that list separate because that's a different strategy. So if you wanted to then again crowdfund again, that list will become really valuable to understand audience. And in Facebook, you can actually upload lists and it can actually help you create an audience of a similar type of exact audience that's already done the funding for you. So then you just tell Facebook, these are my emails. and then they will create something called lookalike audience of that email list,
Yep.
helping you now to reach out. So any kind of donations that you are collecting for your research, I think that is what that list is for. In terms of approaching this book selling and all this other stuff that you're trying to do, I think you've got a few products there that you can sell, right?
Yeah.
There is a couple. What I really recommend to you, and I said this to you yesterday, and I'll say it again, is there might be an opportunity for carousel ads. Have you tried those?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I would talk to you about split testing. Have you noticed in Facebook ads there's something called split testing?
Yeah, so we did one lot of Facebook ads and we got nothing from it, which I would say is user error. But I have started to build out, there's another lady who's been very generous with offering help on Facebook ads that we've been having a go at. So I've built out a couple of ads. I have some of the wording. I've sort of got audiences. We've split into basically 3 target markets. The first is parents with young children. So we target parents of children who are 2 to 10 generally. The second one is grandparents.
Because you see parents with children, but are all of them going to be interested in this, or is it particular children that are going to go through something?
So we're actually on Facebook. We're not necessarily targeting children who are going to hospital because it's really hard to know those children through Facebook. What we're actually focused on there is TED Goes to Hospital as a social story. So where children might have a grandparent or a loved one going into hospital, that can actually be just as traumatic for children. So we've got 2 subgroups of parents and then the grandparents. And then the third angle is...
Can you tell me about the... Sorry, I want to stay just there so I can give you the advice on that. Can you tell me about the caption that you are trying... Like what... Because this is really, really heavy on storytelling, and the captions that you're going to write for this is going to either make it or break it, the ad.
And that's what we've been refining. So we've actually got a quote from one of the parents who used our book really successfully. She had her son is in and out of hospitals for various different things, and
you did a testimonial.
And this comes to a testimonial.
Okay.
And so we've got some wording around that, around reducing anxiety and learning through play, and a couple of other words
Have you got one like this, and maybe you already have it? Meet Ted. So it's just, that's what it says, the first thing at the top. Meet Ted. Ted has anxiety about going to go get his first blood shot or something like that. Then gap, next sentence. Ted has been struggling with, this for some time now. Then gap. So telling a story about Ted and Ted having these issues. Ted wrote a book to help show, some of the anxieties he's gone through, and Ted is wanting to help other kids who are going through anxious to actually do this. This is called storytelling, and this is going to get the reader to read about Ted. I know Ted's a fictitious character, but it's going to be like Ted. This is Ted's story. This is what Ted went through, and it's got to be compelling enough, that copy. And the heading of that has to be something that is even more compelling, because there's all the caption, and you have to get people to click see more on a book ad. So it has to be a pretty long caption there about Ted, and then it says it has to say something like Ted has gone through. Ted has the fear of. Ted has the answer of how to overcome, going to get a blood test. Or Ted has the, solution of how, like Ted, Like
Yep.
TED, you want to overcome your fears of going to hospital or something like that, or going to fears of you getting a first. So you see how this is just a story tell? It's nothing more
Yep.
than just a story tell that I've told you. And it's just one creative idea that you can do. Second thing is this, so that would lead to buy now, or like, find out more, not even learn more. It will land on your website about the book.
Yep.
Just your website has a high converting page. Yes, it does. Like
It doesn't.
TED
Yeah.
Hospital.
We're in the
That's
process of redoing our website from a
landing.
content point of view, because it's quite confusing. So we're going to create a TED Goes to Hospital landing page within it that just specifically talks about the book.
You've
At
got
the
one
moment,
here,
it's a bit all over the
like
place.
TED Goes to Hospital teacher kit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you can land them there for now. But
Yeah.
okay, this is the next thing. They're going to land on that page, okay? But they're probably not going to purchase, because they're going to be like, okay, cool, like this is where it's landed. But what you see that what's happened is you've landed them there. It's not a high converting page. You're probably not going to get that much. Now, I've just given you one creative. What happens if they landed there and you gave them a free resource that popped up?
Mm-hmm.
Grab your free resource,
Mm-hmm.
all these free resources. So if we brought some of those free resources into these landing pages you're creating, or a little pop-up, which you can create very easily using, lots of pop-up exit. It's called exit forms. And they take the free tool. Now they feel more obliged to either make a donation or either purchase this. So now you've got their
Mm-hmm.
email, you see. You've captured their email by giving them like blah, blah, blah. Another creative, I want to go back to that. I just gave you a creative idea about Meet TED. When you split test creative, you don't know what's going to work. So I just gave you one. You've got another one that was testimonials, right? So we've talked about two creative. Another third creative is you've got these great free resources, these amazing videos that you've created. Have you used those in your Facebook ad?
No,
Okay.
we've hardly done any. Like I said, I just can't, like, this is where I get stuck, because, the sort of marketing that I'm used to doing, I think I said to you yesterday, is just so different to this. So
you're
all
giving
help
away
welcome.
free resource. Right? You're giving away all this free resource. And I think that's amazing that you're giving away all this resource. So this free resource, that I would be doing a split test on that free resource. So run that the coronavirus one, or I'm just looking at all your free resources. It's like really amazing, but no one's maybe seeing it, right? So you've got these amazing free resource activities, some activities that you've put together. So how do germs spread? I love it. It's so cool. Coronavirus, find a crossword. I love it. How amazing. Okay.
My son wrote that one.
Okay. I want you to do this. In Facebook ads, there's this thing called lead generation high intent form. When you set up an ad, it says when you set up your first ad, it says, is this for traffic? Is this for click? Like, it's the first page, and there's the third one down. It says this is a lead generation. You'll see it. I want you to click on that. Now, lead gen is one of the best ways to get data, and that data is what you really want right now of people that are interested in TED. Because you see, TED, they might be interested in buying this product, but they might be donators as well, and they might really follow this brand and become, I think you said you don't know who's going to give you. Someone might turn around into you and give you 100K donation, through this. So you have to think big, really big, and you have to tell your story really, and you have to tell the stories of these children so you can have a bigger impact. Now, going back to my third, so I told you about Meet TED creative that you're going to do with a picture. This is what's going to make it, I reckon. And this is why I tell my I tell my team, this is why I'm the boss. So, so there is this third one called lead gen. Now, when you press on that, it goes, okay, it's the same process. It goes, okay, what do you want to create? Blah, blah, blah. I want you to create an ad that goes, we're going to give away this free crossword. Okay. So you do a little image of this crossword and say, we know how hard it is for kids dealing with coronavirus. It hasn't been easy on them at all, da, da, da. That's why we created this amazing crossword, which we think parents and kids can play with each other and really remove that anxiety from the kids. Go ahead, it's free. Download this free crossword and play this with your child and tell us, and just all we ask is you just leave a comment and tell us how you went. That's it.
Yep.
When they press on that piece of thing to download this thing, you will see as you go through the journey of this high intent thing, Facebook says, okay, what information do you want to collect from these people? And it will have an option called edit, which will say, do you want this lead form that they have to fill out before they can get access to your free resource? Before they get access to this free resource, they have to give information. And it will say, is it just a normal form where they have to type it in, or is it a high intent form? When it's high intent means that Facebook will pre-fill the form and they just have to press submit with all the details that Facebook already holds, making they don't have to fill in all that stuff. It's already like your name is there. Facebook already has the data.
Yep.
So they just go submit and they get access to this resource, which you're giving away for free anyway on your website. Yep. But you've just collected emails of people that are interested in anxiety, have children. We've told them that this is for parents and children who are going through this issue. Now that we've got this email, we can now talk to them, and we can talk to them with intent. We can now create a monthly newsletter about what TED is up to, how TED's going with coming up with this digital product, how TED's book is going. All of a sudden, you've got the email that's what you're going to do. You're going to touch base with them. It doesn't cost you anything to email, does it? No. It doesn't cost you anything. It
we've even got the email template done. We've just never sent one.
But you can just, now we've got these emails of people that are interested in your stuff, and that's what you need, is you need a touch point. And now we're going to start talking about fun. Now we're talking about, okay, we've got these emails, and we're going to continue to give away these free resources because you've got lots of them. And it's going to cost you very little to do this high intent lead stuff because it's free. And you're starting to get groups of people that are interested. And I have to really be clear on this. It's how you phrase that caption, that why you came up with this crossword. Like all the stuff you're telling me, that is the storytelling. It has to be in there. Like, why you built that activity and what was the suffering of the child. If that is there, you're going to capture the minds and the hearts of investors and of particular users. And then all I want you to do is just do these Facebook ads that are giving away these free activities, really nice caption storytelling, like from the heart. Like how I shared my story of my brother with you. Like we need like stories like that pouring in.
Yeah.
But contextualize as TED. And then once you start getting it, all I want is a commit from you that you'll do an email and a long textual email of what's going on with TED this month, and some of the things that TED's been up to. And TED is actually what TED company has been up to and what kind of impact that is trying to be met. And TED needs, he's got books, and he wants more people to have these books. And if they want a book, they can have a book. And if they want to donate, you would love that donation, because TED is on a mission and TED's not going to stop, but TED needs support. So it's always, that's how I funnel the stuff. I think about how am I going to get the emails. If I don't have the emails, I have to pay for that. And I give away something for free. And then you send them constant, really deep-hearted emails of what's going on with TED. And what's going on with TED is actually what's going on with you and what's going on with your business. So do you see how I'm getting you to like actually build a brand and bring people on this really beautiful journey of bringing the potential clients, the potential. I think that the parents will be the investors in this. I do, and I think that's what you should continue to update and commit to that content. So even if it's one email a month, that's all you're doing, is a long, heartfelt email. On a different side of the marketing, and we talked about this, is the whole B2B side opportunity that exists. And I don't know if you should pretty much also really get into that, but build out this and see how this goes. And if it doesn't deliver enough revenue from this, and this will take, you have to give yourself around 2 to 3 months of effort in this to really know, is this an effort that you want to continue to deliver, which is give away the free resources with lead intent Facebook ads. So I just want to continue to tell you that it's lead intent. I think that's the money maker. It's the free resources you've already built that you're giving away. Now, the other strategy, and I think that could bring you more money, is these partnerships that you're doing and these sponsorships you're doing. And I think that's about you and you telling the journeys of the impact that you're having on LinkedIn. Because there's going to be people that are going to reach out and they're going to donate. I think you need to improve your donation website there right now, because you've got $5 a donation or something like that. There has to be a donation landing page where people can donate any amounts they want. Like if you want to donate $100,000, then fine. Like you have to think like to that kind of scale. So I want you to think of, when you're creating these landing pages on one side for your purchase the book, I want you to think about the landing page and what the donation landing page looks like. And they should have the stories of the kids that you've impacted and that you continue to impact. And I want you to make effort to share the stories of the impact that you're having on these kids. And from I would be doing it from I don't write often on here, but today, we got to impact Mary's life. And Mary, was a 5-year-old child, and she had to go into hospital the first time. The anxiety that lives within children have been, sometimes unknown to many, but it is really something that is real, and it's something that is a real struggle. And these impacts can have huge mental health issues if not dealt with correctly. So what are you doing? You're telling the story of this Mary, and you're also putting in, this is Mary, this is what she went through, this is the issues that live within it. And then you have to end with, I'm on this journey to make sure that I have an impact on having a better deal, better experience with going to hospital, going and having heart surgery, going and having your first injection. You have to say, I want to leave an impact. And that's why I share this story with you, because we are looking for donations to have the big impact that we want to do. And I'd really love all my network support. Here's the link if you want to donate. $1 is not too less, something like that. And I want you to actually get into the habit of doing that once a week. So what I'm saying is, you've got to commit to creating one Facebook ad per week, that I believe, so you'll be able to do the free resources. So you'll be able to split test, 4 different type of creatives, what work. And I also believe you have to commit into sharing some stories on your LinkedIn network, just to start seeing, do you get any attraction there? Do people reach out there? So I think if you play to those 2 platforms, like I've told you, I think that will bring you so much more success. Then I think we talked about a little bit yesterday about email scraping and reaching out to people on email. I just think this is going to play, and this is going to actually create the brand. And I think people are going to then feel the brand. And these are the two that I would do, and I think you've got a
Yep.
huge press strategy as well that you have to play at some point. Press as in, like, I think press is going to reach out to you as you share these stories, and if written in the way that I've talked about, it's going to be a huge impact. But if you write the stories like we're talking about in that way, and I think I've shared with you my caption strategy and stuff before about LinkedIn when I've been sharing it, but I will give you this tip that when you do write LinkedIn or you write Facebook caption for anything that you post, the first 3 lines is the hook.
Yeah.
And the first line should be very short, 4 or 5 words at the max, the first sentence, 4 or 5 words, and it should be like boom. And that's why I think TED, or I want to tell you about Mary. Like, Mary's got this thing. It's got to be like, it's got to hit hard to your heart, or it's got to hit, because you've really got a really nice story that you have to share it, and you have to share impact.
Yeah, we've spoken to press before, and we're waiting on the results of the trial. Well, we were when we thought it was going to turn around pretty quickly, because we definitely get great responses from them, but we wanted to wait until we were actually ready to do something with it if we actually got coverage. But with everything that's going on at the moment, it could be 6 months before that happens.
So my advice to you is, whether that's going ahead or not, like the impact that you want, like, because I know you're in the mindset Corona, I know you're in the mindset like that stopped. That doesn't stop what you want to achieve. Like,
No.
that doesn't stop your passion. So whether that has stopped and the clinical and all that, there's still TED, there's still stories of how you're having an impact right now. So don't discount the stuff that you are doing right now. Like, whether that thing that's happening in the background, I feel like that plays too much for you, but you're still giving. You just told me a story about how Ted was adopted and taken into a heart surgery. Like, you are telling me stories, that means you're having impact already, regardless of clinical trials or not. That is your strategy. That is your long-term strategy. And yes, you can share that. That's why you need funding for all that stuff. But you've got something to offer right now, which is giving away activities that people sell for free.
Yeah.
You're giving away free activities that people will probably charge for.
Yeah.
You might not realize that you already might have product here that you probably could be charging for, and you haven't monetized it, right? So you don't know what you've actually got already, and all these activities, they could be things that you actually could sell. It could be at $1, it could be at $5. I know you want to have an impact, but all this money is for good, right? So maybe I think maybe some of these courses, like these kits and these things that you're giving away for free, maybe it can be actually paid.
Yeah, I think we're pretty comfortable with the giving away because it is part of our sort of fundamental driver for starting all of this. And, what we do with the books, for example, is we sell them to the families that can afford them so that we can give free ones to the families that can't. So for every 3 that we sell online, we give one away. So I think I'm not comfortable with monetizing those. I'm comfortable with using them for promotion because the biggest driver is to get people to use them.
Then let people know that as well when they buy that book, like that every 3rd book will be, let people know that, because you are so, like, you're into this much more emotionally, right? And you have to let people know how much this means to you through your digital presence, because if it's known, I think you're going to have so many people come out to you. And it's crazy, like, you're doing such great stuff, but if people don't know about it, they can't get on and, like, and support that passion. So what I recommend is, like, commit, like, that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1 post a week on this channel, and it's going to be a story that how we've had an impact. And I'm sure there's lots of stories that you've had an impact that you can share. I'm sure there's weeks and weeks of posts that you can do, and try out this high intent lead form on the free resources. and then commit to 1 email a month to everyone that grow out your as you grow out your lead list, that you will write something. That's my
No, that's great. That's really helpful.
I hope that helps to how.
I know it does, because I think the problem with Facebook and LinkedIn is there's so many different ways that you can do it that you end up doing nothing because you just don't know which one to use.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, what else? Is there anything else on your mind that you really wanted to get out and talk on? Or have I covered?
No, I think you've done a great job of covering. I mean, like I said, we've got a lot of this stuff sitting behind the scenes. We just haven't actioned it yet. We've got a lot of great visuals that we can use and stories that parents have shared with us. So
the whole thing is going to be Facebook ad. I'm just writing it down so everyone can see. So Facebook ad, lead gen. It's called a lead gen high intent. So that's the first thing that I recommend that you try out, giving away your free resources. Number 2, I'm saying is an organic text only LinkedIn post telling a story of impact. So there's no money to be spent there at all. Okay.
So that is actually one of my questions, is how much do you think we need to put on as our limits on these Facebook ads to get a good enough test, but recognising that, we're startup and bootstrapped?
I've tested even at I would start off with $50, $100 on each split test. So I wouldn't be spending loads of money until I found if it worked or not. So
okay, great.
Yeah, so you don't need to spend a lot to know if there is you'll know if there's. I've spent $20. I've made 25,000 before. So if it's there, you'll see it. If it's not there, you won't see it. So and number 3 was email one. So this will be in the comment to this. So email. I want you to do once a month email to everyone that you collect from Facebook. They're my 3 strategies that I would use.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, it was so lovely, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time, I guess, back at Howard. And it's good to meet you again, Ted. And I will see you back at Fishburners. And thank you so much for joining my first live.
Thank you. It was great. And you're welcome to borrow Ted next time you have to take your husband off to the hospital.
Thank you. I think I need to watch the videos as well.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me. Thanks, everyone. And until next time. Bye.
Bye.